How's it going, everybody? Sessiion here. Welcome to a Dead by Daylight killer overview from the perspective of a survivor like myself who's played against different killers and kind of how I feel about where they sit in the game overall. So today we have the Hag with you, and I feel like the Hag is, in a weird way of speaking, like the killer that people don't really play all too much now. But I feel like that's only the case because people have a larger pool of killers to choose from. Like right now, this game has 30 killers. It's about to get 31 killers. So I don't necessarily need them to do anything to this killer as far as I'm currently aware, so that she's able to like be more playable from like certain perspectives. But I think people are pretty content with how she is as a killer now. But again, I feel like she's a very hard killer to play, I think, but I feel like at the same time she's very powerful in her own right in ways that just really don't get questioned by anybody. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about her as a whole. I feel like personally I loved her. I remember the very first time I tried playing against this killer, scariest thing in my entire life, because the whole jump scare thing with the traps, because again, I never knew how she functioned as a killer with her powers. I just did not understand what her gimmick was. I had zero clue. So, you know, from just solely finding out that she simply just had the ability to teleport when you got jump scared, I didn't understand that, like, at all. I literally had no idea. And the fact is too, though, that her perks were also, I think even still to this day, like some of the best perks in the game. They definitely like nerfed a bunch of stuff, but like it's kind of like whatever. But even still though, just like from a killer perspective, you know, she's so freaking wild. And the thing is too, is that the add-ons that she's got going for her really work in her favor in a lot of great ways. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that she exists as the way that she does. I'm just more surprised by the fact that people don't play her more often. I've tried to play her a couple of times. I remember I tried to use her iridescent add-on, not knowing what it does, and it was like the worst idea ever. But again, it's because I didn't know how the killer functioned. I was just like, let me just play the killer and figure it out. And then I learned that like I wasn't having a good time. Then I tried playing her again without that. And realized that I was just gonna have fun, you know, being able to play with the killer as a whole, and I had a better time that run for sure. But again, I feel like you know, people who can figure out how to play this killer are lethal in every way, shape, and form that they are for themselves. So I remember also one time I played against a killer who played Hag, and she literally killed our entire party. I kid you not, it was in like a minute and a half, or like 3 minutes, something like that, because somebody set on a trap, immediately like grabbed them off the gen, put them on a hook, someone tried to unhook and then got grabbed from there, put on, you know, and it was literally that back to back 4 people on a hook in 3 minutes. It was insanely powerful. So I didn't even think it was cheap, because I think that like the problem is that we were just not really playing well during that match, that the killer was just able to benefit from being able to do that to 4 dumb survivors. So I don't know, I just love that this killer is like literally like a pure jump scare killer. So I don't, and again, I don't really know what changes that she's had over the course of time, or nerfs or buffs or nothing of the nature. Because to me, in my 2 years at least of playing this game, and the times I came across the Hag, when big patches and changes came out, nothing really seemed to affect the killer directly. It was more so the perks that were hers in particular. You know, like I don't remember ever seeing Third Seal get blind, or not blind, sorry, like nerfed or buffed or anything, but I understand what it does. I do see it once in a while, depending on like who we're talking about. It can come in handy in some ways, more than others too. So it's interesting. But I know Ruin was the big one. You know, Ruin was the best perk in a long time for a very large number of reasons, because the regression speed used to be double of what it currently is now. When it was 200%, I literally used to hate the idea of thinking that Ruin was being a perk used by the killer. I immediately stopped everything I was doing in the game, and I just went to go find Ruin. Like whenever I found out the killer had Ruin, my number 1 priority was to get rid of Ruin, because that progression is such a problem. So because honestly it does a whole lot more than it used to, because I know like back then it didn't disappear when you killed a survivor. It would still be there, you know. I actually kind of forgot that this was even like a power that would happen if you killed someone with ruin. um because again, like if I, even to this day, I kind of knew this in the back of my mind, but I never really thought about it in the moment when I found out the killer had ruin. Like when I saw the killer had ruin, I immediately was like, I'm doing gens. Now I'm not doing gens, I'm gonna go find that totem. And then I went to go find the totem. And the worst part was when they had Undying also, because then I'm like, oh god, like now they have Undying and Ruin, and I gotta find 2 totems, you know. So, but I think it's a very well balanced perk. I think also everyone also agreed that this perk doesn't need, you know, the power that it has is still really strong, but the fact is that like you have to force yourself to do something to basically like hook everybody at least once or twice before you can start letting this perk go away, because killing one person just for this perk is not obviously worth it. But the application of the perk is still really, really strong, especially when everyone's still alive. But if you can just force people off of the gen, then it, you know, it definitely makes it worthwhile in its own right. So yeah, and again, like the fact that these perks are all applied to the hag is crazy. And Devour too. Devour, honestly, I'm actually very grateful that this perk exists, and also the fact that it's shareable across the board between different people, because like I mean, I know I sound crazy saying that out loud, but the thing is, like, this perk, if you put it in the hands of somebody who's trying to like slow burn scare you, this perk becomes very, very fun to play with, and I feel like I love that concept like a lot. So I remember one time I was playing against a Ghostface. It was in old Stranger Things, like Hawkins Laboratory, if you remember that level. So the killer had Devour, and I think it was a Ghostface. Now what had happened was, you know, the killer had gotten Devour, like the 3 tokens, not the ability to murder, but just the 3 tokens. So because they had the expose on everybody immediately was freaking going nuts about where the killer was, because the killer would just start creepily slowly like walking towards people, because they knew that Devour was active. So we would just run away from the killer the entire time, and we didn't even try to like you know, expose the killer. The killer would just go back into hiding, and they basically checked gens the whole time. It was a very long game. It was like 25 minutes, but it was very scary when like you have 2 people working on a gen that's almost done, and you see the killer coming, and they have, you know, Devour active, and everyone immediately just like tries to like, you know, like run together through to like one pathway, but they can't go because it's a tight small corridor. So, you know, you have to try to like squeeze past each other to get through, and it, like I said, that pressure was very terrifying, and I loved it. And I feel like Devour has that capability for a lot of reasons. So that's why I'm grateful that this perk exists. The murdering thing is kind of whatever, but the fact that there's a guarantee expose on everybody while it's active, weirdly enough, is a really, really fun perk to like mess with people's minds with, especially when you put it in the hands of a Myers. Dude, we had a Myers that was in RPD with Devour and Scratch Mirrors. Scariest thing on the planet. Instantaneously scary, because you don't even get a chance to like you know, run away when you get down. You just instantly get down, and you gotta sit there and wait. But then the killer would hide, whether it was close by or not at all. You know, you had no idea. Like I said, you can, if you use Devour in a very fun way, you can have a lot of fun with Devour. It's such a great perk. So, and I think that the hag is in the same boat, you know, because like I know that she's got this the hag has like this one iridescent add-on where she can just teleport to any portal she wants to, and using abilities or using perks that let her really find people's auras and playing with Devour was one of the scariest things ever. So, you know, because again, she can put down 10 traps and appear anywhere. It's so crazy. And you know, the fact that people can trigger the trap as a jump scare thing is crazy. I hated it like so much. Even knowing that like it had like a small terror radius too when the jump scare happens is always something that's kind of nuts in my mind. So, you know, and even just being able to like shining a flashlight near a trap will reveal the aura is also like so fascinating to me, you know, because like that was one of the biggest things is like when the trap gets destroyed, you gotta just figure out like what to do about it. And her teleporting around all over the place was a really crazy way for her to gain distance, and her perks really let her like capitalize on that too. You know, the fact that she can use her add-ons to like increase the speed that it would set, increase the duration when it gets tripped is like crazy to me, because that means it stays there for a little bit longer. Increasing her range by 20%, you know, going from 40 to 48 meters is quite a lot, and that's just for the, you know, the regular like normal add-ons, you know. She can even use these to see the aura of survivors that are tripping traps, which is crazy. And again, like all of her add-ons kind of just extend on the initial problems that kind of come with the first, you know, version of her add-ons. So like the more rare versions just make those powers and those add-ons even stronger versions of those, and they're stackable, which is even more crazy. So, you know, you really get to capitalize like a ton on this stuff. And I think there's one add-on she has where like she can't use the traps to jump scare people, but she can just teleport through to them. I gotta see which one that is, but I know that it's really, really crazy strong. Also, the scarred hand is actually a really good one, because basically you use it as a way for it to trap survivors. Like you can use it in front of, like you can put two, like if it's like a pallet, you can put one on each side, and then basically it prevents the survivor from being able to run through the actual phantom, and then they're kind of stuck just dealing with it. So I mean, that's a very weird add-on, but it works a lot. But the hag has to play close with that kind of power. But still though, I've seen that power be used where you know, you literally force somebody to be like locked into a corner. It's actually pretty crazy how strong that thing is. So, and oh, this is the one where like it doesn't spawn a mud phantasm, but they also don't give any indication of being tripped. So you actually get to like just use this to just, you know, appear out of nowhere. And this makes her really freaking terrifying. She's actually really scary when she uses that one. Same thing with this one too. When a trap gets triggered, it doesn't let the hag's radius be appeared, and then it increases a fake radius of the phantasm by 16 meters. So like she literally can just appear out of nowhere when she's like, and basically seem invisible. Hiding her radius is so scary, honestly. It's kind of insane. Even though like she has these other powers too that like just force her to get around a lot is pretty insane. You know, like I don't think I've actually ever seen yeah, this is the one iridescent add-on I have never seen, where she can, it gets like an increased movement speed, but then also survivors get hindered when they are inside of a trap's trigger range. But she also can't teleport to them. I've actually never seen this one before. This doesn't seem like a good add-on to me, despite it being iridescent. I feel like you gotta play around with it very specifically though, so I don't really know all too much, but this one is the one that I see all the time. The fact is that like she can teleport to any untripped phantasm at will, and then, you know, it has like a cooldown in between it, but like it doesn't really matter. The fact is that she can just teleport to any trap she wants to, because you can play around with the traps so much. And like back in that one time when I mentioned the one killer that basically killed all my survivor friends and myself in like 3 minutes, they had this add-on. We instantly died. It was so crazy. So, you know, I'm very grateful of her being like the first. She was technically the first killer that I dealt with that jump scared the crap out of me before knowing that Myers had the power of Scratch Mirror. I knew Myers was in the game and I fought a Myers, but I had no idea that she existed with the power to jump scare people. It was actually pretty crazy. So you know, let me see. So now we're just seeing over the course of like her patch logs too. I love that they gave her unique music. Actually, it was actually pretty awesome that they did that, because I remember the first time I heard the new song, or the new like Terror Radius music, I was like, who the fuck is that? Who is that? because I had no idea. And then there was a moment where, because it was in Raccoon City, and I think I was on like the balcony area, and all I saw was her just run across, and I was like questioning it for the entire match. I'm like, who is this person? Because I still had no idea, and I think I didn't find out about who it was until like 7 minutes in, because she was chasing other survivors. It wasn't until I finally saw her and I was like, oh, that was the Hag. Like, holy crap, that's actually the Hag's music now. It was insane. So, I loved that she was such a freaky killer from the beginning. So, and kind of looking at her stuff too, it looks like she was actually not like a top tier killer or like a high tier killer. She was kind of like medium-ish maybe, but the buffs that they gave her actually really help out with a lot of different things. And also they kind of quality of life checked all her add-ons too. So, the fact that they gave her a better lunge attack mechanic, they quality life changed all of her add-ons at some point way back in 2.1, and then they even reduced her footstep audio. That's one thing that definitely can be played around with a lot too. Any killer that has like a reduction in footstep audio is actually a really scary killer to deal with, and I put her also in the top tier list of like nightmare killers that can scare the crap out of you. It's especially because she has the power to be very, very quiet everywhere. It's so scary. So I think it's actually pretty insane that she's a killer that I feel like people really have a lot of fun playing with, but I also don't really see any particular reason for her to get nerfed or buffed or any of the nature. I feel like she's just perfectly where she should be as a killer, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really play her enough to really understand like the the power, besides just her scaring the crap out of me most of the time. She's a lot of fun to play against, though. I love the fact that the Hag is that kind of killer that's designed to just like keep you on your toes the whole time. Because like people might get jump scared by the phantasm, and it might not even be her freaking teleporting there. Like she has that option, and I love that. But again, because she's the power to keep me on my toes is very fun too. So let me know what you think. Like I said, I'm very grateful for her being a killer in this game. I think she's really cool. I don't necessarily think that there's anything that requires like a nerf or a buff or a change or a rework or nothing of that nature. I can't think of anything that I need to change for her in her kit. I think honestly for me it's more so like I'd love for there to be a way for her to kind of nullify the ability to teleport through phantasm traps, but then also still kind of make it harder for her to take advantage of them. Like if people get jump scared by it, it'd be cool if like the jump scare of the trap, if it gets triggered, does like like debuffs. Like I'm so surprised that there's not like an add-on that gives an expose on the person if they get scared or they get jumped by the by the trap, for example. Like I didn't even realize that until just now, that there's no add-on that she has that does that. I mean, that would be an extremely powerful one, but again, like if she couldn't teleport two traps but then they got triggered, then it'd be kind of crazy, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I said, let me know what you think. I feel like she's, like I said, she's a really, like, I mean, balance isn't the right word, she's just great. That's just like the long story short of it. So hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, let me know. Peace out.